What's up, guys? Welcome back to Code with Clayton. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to build a simple e-commerce website with Django and Ajax. Understand? So this website is basically simple, whereby we have some items on the website and we can simply add to cart. Understand? So currently, I have 3 items in my cart. If I add an item, the cart gets updated. Just watch. Add to cart. I have 4 items. Add to cart. More 5 items. As I keep adding to cart, their quantity keeps increasing in the shopping cart. Instead, if I add it back to cart, you can see, and all these are happening without the page reloading. That's because I added Ajax to this project. Understand? So if I click on the shopping cart icon, I'm going to go down to the shopping cart page. You can see I have this page here. You can see I have 2 blue t-shirt, I have 4 orange t-shirt, and I have a single bag, and everything adds up correctly to this price we have here. If I update the quantity of each items, the page will not reload, and this going to get updated real time. So if I make this 3, you can see now it's not 3, the quantity is not 3 times the price. You can see we have 150. Everything gets updated, even the grand total, the cart gets updated. So everything is working fine. So if I try this again, because everything is working absolutely fine, the cart gets updated. This is not updating. I forgot to write a code for this, but this gets updated. The total price gets updated. Everything is working fine with Django and Ajax. No page reloading. Understand? So in this video, I'm going to share the build a simple e-commerce website like this with Django. For this part 1 series, we'll stop at the add to cart functionality. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to integrate PayPal to make your payments. Understand? So without further ado, we are getting started right now. Now I think it's high time we start the project right now. So I'm going to create a Django project. So go down to the terminal, new terminal. So I'm going to create a new Django project from the terminal over here. So now I'm going to pick the command prompt. Okay, command prompt. So after that, I'm going to activate my virtual environment. I'm going to simply say work on venv. After I've done this, I'm going to go into the desktop. Okay, enter, and now I'm going to create a new Django project in the desktop. So I'm going to simply say Django admin, start project. I'm going to call this project my shop. Okay, so let's see. So I just about running a new Django project right now, but it's taking some time. Okay, now we're going to cd into this Django project called my shop. So cd inside. After you cd inside, now I'm going to create an app instead of this Django project. Now I'm going to simply say Python manage.py start app. I'm going to call this cat. Okay, so I'm going to create an app inside this. Okay, after we've done this, now I'm going to simply run server. I'm going to simply say Python manage.py run server. I'm going to change the port number to 8001 because the other one I showed you is running on 8000. So I'm going to make this 8001. So run server. I think everything should be working fine. Okay, everything is working fine now. So I'm going to open that Django project I created. That should be on the desktop. Open folder should be on the desktop. So desktop, I called it to my shop. Here it is. Select folder. Okay, it's loading. It's loading. It's kind of taking some time. Please be patient. Sorry for the time. Okay, you can see it's open. Perfect. Now you can see I have my Django project called my shop. I have the cart, which is a Django app. Understand? So I'm going to make sure I make this cart registered. So on the open my shop settings.py. Okay, settings.py. I'm going to register the cart app. Add it in the installed application. Make sure you do not forget cart. Okay, if you're getting some values, please always smash the like button, subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos like this one. Understand? So this is it now, and I'll also add the GitHub link. I'm going to add the source code in the description of this video, so check it out. Understand? So we've done this already. After doing this now, so I'm going to create some views. I want to render out some templates. So let's render out some templates. Open the cart app views. So now I'm going to simply create these 2 views. In the store page dev store. So I'm going to increase the. Let me zoom in a bit. So I'm going to call this store. So I'm going to have the request. So I'm going to simply return render And most of you guys are familiar with this already. Return render, let's say request. I'm going to simply say cat.html, cat/store.html. So this is a normal Django way, and I'm going to add the context data. So context, I'm going to declare it up here. Context. I'm going to point to an empty dictionary for now. So this is for the store page. So for the cat page, I'm going to simply copy this, Ctrl+C. I'm going to paste this here, paste. So we're going to call this the cat page. Cat. Okay. So now we're going to return cat.html. So that's it, cat.html. So now once we create this HTML files, the store and the cat, let's create it now. So instead of the cat app, I'm going to create a new folder called templates. Templates. Sorry for spelling this wrongly. Templates. So after that, I'm going to create a new folder instead of the templates called cats. So let's do that right away. So cat, and now I'm going to create these two files called store.html and cat.html. So I'm going to create a few files. Let's say store.html. Let's call this other one cat.html. And maybe I'm going to also add a base.html, the base where this template is going to inherit from. So I'm going to add a base.html. So let's add that if I forget. So new file base.html. Okay, that done already. Everything perfect, working fine. Okay. So now after we've done this now, I think we should get the actual HTML file. So I'm going to copy the source code from where it is and paste here. So we're not going to be working with HTML. I'm going to copy the source code and do some little explanation. So let's do that right away. So I'll simply copy out the template, the code for the base.html. You can see the base.html code. So I'm going to show you what it does. The base.html from here, it simply presents this navigation bar you see. The navigation bar you see on top is a base.html. So you can see this is our store.html, the main page itself. This is the store.html. So what we copied over here. So the store.html, you can see this is a page. You can see we only have a single card. You're going to use a for loop to create the other card you see on the screen. Understand? So that's it now. So and for the cat.html, the cat.html is kind of looking kind of complicated. It's not complicated. So from this point you see here, from this table row you see here, this table row simply represents this part. I'm going to show you. Simply represents this row, the item, the price, the quantity, the total. Understand? And these ones you see here are the actual data that goes into this is the actual data that displays the items we have in our carts. Understand? So it's not complicated at all. Understand? That's just what it is. Understand? So after we've done this now, what I need to do next, I want to create a URL for those views we create. I want to create some URL mapping. So I'm going to make this big again. So I want to create some URLs mapping for those views you created. So for us to do that now, I'm going to create a new file in the cat app. Create a new file called urls.py. So let me sure it's created in the right place. So I'm going to create a new file. Let's call this urls.py. So now I'm going to simply do something. I'm going to say from Django.urls import paths. And I'm going to also import the views mode. I'm going to simply say from import the views, import views. So we're going to create we're going to create this variable called URL patterns should be equal to a list of paths. So for the first part, which is the home page, we're going to leave it like this. I'm going to simply say views.store, and for the name attributes, we're going to simply say name should be equal to, let's just say store. And for the cat page, let's do the same thing. Simply say cats. We're going to put in cats now into those parentheses, into those quotes. I'm going to simply do views.cats. I hope you're familiar with these things already. I just hope you're familiar with them. I'm going to call this, the name is going to be equal to cats. After we've done this now, we want to make sure that this is being registered in the project urls.py file. You understand? So go down to my shop, check out the us.py file there. So now I'm going to simply import the rpure.py file. I'm going to simply say parts. I'm going to simply say parts. Okay, it's going to be empty for now. I'm going to simply say include, and I'm going to add cats.urls. So I'm going to make sure you import this include statement. So that's it for now. That's it for now. Okay, now after we've done this now, all we need to do, let's see if this is actually working. So once I go down to my page now, go down to the browser, let's say 12 slash, let's say 8000. So this particular URL is pointing to this. So what we have here is going to give us the store view, which is what we have here. Understand, this store view. So let's see if everything is working fine. So if you refresh this page, so 12 slash 8001, enter. So hope there is no error. I think I need to run. Okay, I guess the server is down, so I need to run my server again. Okay, so I'm gonna run server currently. So after that, I'm gonna simply activate my factory environment and Python manage.py run server 8001. So I'm gonna wait for this to run. Okay, it's run. It has run. So refresh this page. Oh, it's not displaying anything on the page yet. I don't know why it is not displaying. So I'm going to fix that right now. So also.html, which extends from the base.html. Okay, the page is kind of empty. So okay, actually we have this error. It says template does not exist at base.html. Yes, that's true. So with the error, you can see we are trying to import, we are trying to extend from base.html. Actually, base.html is instead of the cat folder, so it should be cat slash base.html. So let's see the browser again. Refresh. No such table. Django session. I think we need to run migrations for this. Okay, so let's make migrations now. Ctrl C. Let's say Python manage.py make migrations. I don't know why that error is coming, but let's run migration and see if it's gonna disappear. No, yeah, let's migrate Python manage.py migrates. Oh, I spelled migrate wrongly. Python manage.py migrates. Enter. Okay, so after we've done this again, I'm gonna run server again with stand. So I'm gonna say Python manage.py run server 8001. Okay, I hope everything should work now. Perfect. You can see it's working, but it's not beautiful. So let's go to the cart page and see. For the cart page, I'm going to make sure it's inheriting from the right place. Oh, this place is kind of bulky. On the cart page, make sure you add the cart slash, because this is actually inside the cart folder in the template folder. So just save now. Go down to the browser. So let's go to slash cart, enter. Okay, everything is fine, but it's not looking beautiful at all. That's because there is no static files attached yet. So now to make this fine now, so I'm going to add some static files to this right away. So let's do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to go down into the folder inside of the cat app. I'm going to create a new folder called static. Okay, you have the static file. Okay, that's fine already. So now we're going to create some CSS. So we're going to have some CSS in this static file. So I'm going to copy those CSS and put into the static files. So from where I have them, they're not really far away. So I'm going to go into my documents. Okay, go into documents here. Okay, I have a folder called shop. Okay, static. I'm going to copy the static files, not this one, instead of the cards. Okay, I'm going to copy these static files from here. Not everything, just copy. I'm going to copy this, and these are normal. These are just our normal. What will I say now? They're just the CSS I'm going to add. So you can put your own custom CSS. Understand? So I'm going to put them into the static files. So I'm going to go down to my desktop where I have my shop app. Open the carts, and instead of static, this is kind of small. Sorry for that. Okay, open the static folder and let's paste inside. Okay, I have my CSS on the JavaScript now. This JavaScript is custom, so I'm going to remove what is there, but CSS, I'm going to use the CSS I have there. So now that's it now. So go down to the page to the code base again. Okay, now I have my static files, and I'm going to make sure it's being configured. This is too big, please. I need to reduce the size. Let's zoom out one. Okay, Control plus. Let's see, Control minus. Okay, so now we have this now. So after we've done this, so we have our static files, we have the CSS. Go down to the base.html file and make sure this is properly linked now. So to link your static files, I want to make sure they're properly linked. So I want to link the static files to our base.html. So this is how you link it. So let me do this again. I'm going to link them again so you see if you don't know how to do this. So now, so I'm going to simply do this. Put in the curly braces. After that, be set sign. After I've done that, I'm going to simply say static. You know, we're in a static folder. After that, after static, I'm going to point to the CSS folder. So I'm going to simply say put your single quotes. We're going to say CSS. We're going to open, which one do we have first? We have cat.js. I'm going to simply say slash cat.css. So that's it for the first one. For the second one, it's the same thing. I'm going to simply copy this one and just change from cat to style. Understand? So we have the next one, we have style.css. So let's put the style.css. And mind you, I have timestamps. If you don't like this section, you can fast forward and move down to the other section. Understand? So I'm gonna after I've done this now, I think that's fine for it. Okay, I think that's okay for it. Okay, after I've done this now, I'm going to make sure I go down to my settings.py file, settings.py. Open your settings.py file, my shop, settings.py. Let me show this is recording. So now I'm going to make sure this is being registered, the static file. So go down to this part now. So I'm going to configure the static files. I'm going to simply say static files underscore directories should be equal to, let's say, base there slash static. Okay, so that done already. I think that's fine. So save your work now. Go down to those pages again. I'll refresh. Perfect. Can see it's looking good. Go down to the okay. I'm going to add a link for the home page. So let's see if it's going to work. Let's add a link to the home page to this Shopit logo. So go down to the base.html. Base.html where we have the Shopit. Okay, here's it here. So we have this is the link to the home page URL store, because I call this dynamic name store. If you check my urls.py file, you can see it's called store. So I think it should work. So refresh this page, click here. We're on the home page, everything is working fine. You can see we only have a single card because we've not run our for loop. From here we have multiple cards. On this one we have a single card. So now we're going to start with this. So now I want to create the models for this e-commerce website. So let's do that right now. So I think we are making progress. So now let's create a model.py file for this project right away. So now we're going to open our models.py file. So where do we have the models? Check. I'm going to close some of these stuff. So your cart app, open the models.py file. So now I'm going to create the models for the products. I'm going to simply say class should be equal class of products. Have I forgotten not to create? Let's say models dot model. So the product is going to have a name, right? The name of the product is going to be equal to models dot char field. After that, models dot char field, right? We're going to give it a max length. Let's say max length is going to be 100. Should be equal to 100. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give it a price. We're going to say models dot float field. Let's say that's models dot float field the price. Okay, so after that, now we're going to give it an ID, a product ID. Let's say products underscore ID should be equal to models dot, what am I going to call this? Models dot UUID field. So I'm going to import UUID. So I'm going to say import UUID. So I'm going to simply say UUID dot, I'm going to say default should be equal to UUID dot UUID4. After I've done this, I'm going to also add primary key. It's going to be equal to this. So I'm going to add our primary key to be true. Primary underscore key. This makes sure that our primary key is no longer going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. It's going to be this UUID fields. Understand? It's going to be equal to true. After that, I'm going to make sure this is unique, so no other products can have the same UUID as this one. So we're going to also make sure this cannot be edited. We're going to say editable should be equal to false. So now I think that's all for the products module. I think that's all. So I'm going to create the carts model. Understand? When you go to a mall to get something, a user are going to have they're going to have their cart where they will place their product. Understand? So I'm going to create this cart model now. So let's do that. I'm going to simply say cart. I'm going to simply call this models that's model. So after I've done this now, the cart is going to have an owner. So I'm going to import the Django user now. I'm going to simply say from Django dot contrib dot auth dot models import user. Okay, so I'm going to give this, the owner of this car is going to be equal to owner. It's going to be equal to the models as foreign key. So we are going to simply connect to this user using the foreign key, whereby a user can have several cards. Understand? The foreign key is going to be equal to user. So whenever I delete a user, I want to make sure that all the cards the user has gets deleted with them. Understand? I'm going to say on delete should be equal to models.cascade. Models.cascade. So that done. After that has been done, I'm going to also add a cart ID. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to call this cart ID. Okay, I'm going to link this. Okay, cart ID. Okay, we're also going to also add a completed equal to false, whereby to make sure, so once you've not paid for the cart's items, your cart is going to be set to a completed or false. Once you've paid, it's going to be true. So you're going to say completed is going to be equal to models dot boolean field should be going to be a default value of false. So as far as you're still buying things, you've not paid yet, your cart is going to have a completed status of false. Understand? So after I've done this, now I'm going to create a new model for the cart items. The cart items refers to those items you put into your cart. Understand? Not the product. You're referring to the items in your cart. So let's call this cart item. I'm going to say class should be equal to class cart item is going to be equal to models dot model. So after I've done this, is going to simply link to this cart. We're going to link the cart items to a cart. I'm going to simply say cart should be equal to, going to say foreign key, whereby I'm going to simply say models dot foreign key. I'm going to simply connect it to the cart. After that, I'm going to also do this. Before I delete a particular cart, I want to make sure that all the cart items get deleted also. I'm going to simply say on delete should be equal to, I think it is a small models, not the big one. Models, I think so. Models.cascade, not the big one. Models.cascade. Okay, so after we've done this now, we're going to give this cart item some quantity. I'm going to simply say quantity should be equal to models dot integer field, integer, and default going to be 0. Okay, I'm going to also link this to the products model. Let's link it if I forget. So I'm going to call this products and change this for this card to products. So that's it for the models. Okay, now we're going to add those strings name. I'm going to simply say def underscore xtr underscore self. We're going to simply return self dot name. For the cards, we're going to simply return let's say def underscore xtr underscore self. We'll simply do return self dot owner dot username, potential dot username. Okay, now for this one, now I'm going to also return the product's name and simply do def underscore xtr underscore self. Simply we're going to simply return self.product.name. So that's it for this. Okay, so I saw that I didn't add an image for our product. I didn't add an image for the product. So let's add this image for the product instead. I'm going to simply say image for the product is going to be equal to models.image field. I'm going to simply say we're going to upload underscore to should be equal to img folder, so the image folder, which is going to be created automatically. Understand? So after I've done this now, I'm going to make sure I configure the image in the settings.py file. So just down here, you're going to scroll down to the bottom where we have these static files. We want to make our media work. So we're going to simply say media URL. Working with the image now should be equal to, do the same thing this for static. We're going to simply say media. Okay, now we're going to work on the media roots. Media underscore roots should be equal to, I'm going to simply say the base directory slash static. This refers to where the media is going to be saved, because we want to make sure that it's saved to the static folder which we created here. Not just it's going to be like, we want to make sure that this image folder is placed inside of this static folder. That's what the image roots is trying to do here. Understand? So after that, now we're going to make sure I configure this lastly inside of our project url.py file. Understand? So now we're going to add the configuration for that image in the project url.py file. So I'm going to do some importing. Let me say from Django.conf, I'm going to import settings. And import, I'm going to import static. I'm going to say from Django.conf.urls.static import static. Now we're going to simply say now URL patterns plus equal to, we're going to simply say static. So that's going to simply say settings dot media URL, and after that we're going to also do document underscore roots should be equal to media routes. No, don't just, we're going to say settings.media route, not just media routes, settings dot media underscore routes. I think that's all done for this now. Okay, now so we're going to run migrations right away. So let's run migrations. So Python Models.py, make migrations, and let's migrate. Migrate. So now let's run. We're going to create a super user now. Let's say Python manage.py create super user. So I'm going to call this super user, let's call him Tommy, or let's just say, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, our super user, his name is Clinton. So password, the same password again. So yes, I'm going to run server again, Python manage.py run server 8001. Everything is working fine now. So we are going to log into the admin section so you can add some items to the database. So let's log into the admin section right away. So admin. So username is Clinton, and the password is just this. So login. We can see we can't find the models we created. This because of course we registered them in the admin.py file. So let's do that right away. So here's our admin.py file. We're going to simply import all the models we created. We're going to simply say from Django. So we're going to simply say from .models import this helps to import all the models we have with the models.py file. So we're going to register them one by one. We're going to simply say admin site register. We're going to simply do admin.site register. The first one is going to be products. The second one, admin.site register. Second one is going to be, what was it called this time? Products. We have the carts and admin.site register. We have the cart items. So that's it for this. That's it. Okay. Go down to the page browser again, and hope everything should be fine. Okay. So now I'm going to create some products now. I'm going to add some products. So now we're going to call this. Let's browse the image. Okay. So I have some outside of this. Let's choose the clothing section. So I'm going to open this. I'm going to call this gray t-shirts. Gray t-shirts. So now I'm going to increase the price. Let's just say $30, $30.99. So we're going to save and add another one. So you can add as many products as you like. So I'm going to pause the video and add more products for myself. Understand? You can add as many as you like. So now I've added some t-shirts. I added 3 t-shirts of my choice, 3. So you can add as many products as you like. Understand? So after we've done this now, so I'm going to simply output this. So go down to the views.py file. So now I'm going to simply import the products model. I'm going to simply say from .models. I'm going to simply say import products. Okay, so now we're going to simply say product should be equal to, we're going to create a variable. Product should be equal to, what's it called again? Products dot objects dot all. We're going to pass this product into the context dictionary. So that's it. So let's run it up. Let's run out the product on the store.html page. So we're going to come here, run a for loop. Let's say for products in products. Let's end the for loop at the bottom here. Okay, so I think it should be fine. So now we're gonna add product.image.url that has been added. This is for the image. So we have the product.name, product.price, and that's it. So I'm gonna remove this for now. We don't need them yet. From the last video, from the last thing I did. Okay, so now I think everything should be working. So just save now. So go to the home page again, refresh this page. Oh, you can see everything is fine. You can see we have I made 3 t-shirts for my own because everything is on the page now. So now what you want to do now is this. Now I want to work on the cart page. If I click on the cart page, we are not going to the cart, so I'm going to add the URL for the cart page on this icon. So that should be on the base.html. So I'm going to add that on the base.html right away. So okay, this is the cart page. This is the cart page. Okay, so I'm going to add that stuff, the URL for that. Okay, so we're gonna do URL. Simply do cats from the UI.py file I made. Because I give it a dynamic URL of cats. So save now and go down to the page again. Refresh. You can see we're on the cat page now. So now we have been able to render items on the home page now. So what I want to do is I want to create some cats in the database. I want to manually create cats in the database and render out some items on this page. So let's do that right away. So now let's create these cats in the database right away. So I'm gonna go down to my database now. So I'm gonna create some cat items. So I'm gonna create these cats. Let's create the cats. So we're going to create the cart right away. The owner is going to be for Clinton, the logged in user. We're working with the logged in user instead. So we're going to save now. So the cart has been created. So I'm going to create a product for the carts. I'm going to say a gray t-shirt. I'm going to include the quantity. Let's say 2. I'm going to save another. The same carts. We're working with the logged in user. Let's say 3. And the product is going to be, let's say, the blue t-shirt. And we're going to save. So now we have 2 items in our carts. We have this cart, Clinton, the owner of the cart, and inside of this cart there are 2 cart items, which is the blue t-shirt and the gray t-shirt. And the gray t-shirt we have 2 of it in it, and we check again. The blue t-shirt we have 3 blue t-shirts in the carts instead. So that's it for this for now. Okay, after we've done this, now I want to render this on the browser. So let's do that right away. So for that, we're going to go down to our views.py file, views.py file. So now we're going to work now with the views.py file. So now how are we going to do this now? So we're going to check out for the logged in user. We're going to be working with the logged in user. If you're not logged in, you can't really create a cart for now. So I'm going to simply say if request .user .is underscore authenticated. Okay, if the user is not authenticated, so now we're going to simply say customer should be equal to request.user. This is the logged in user, request.user. So now we're going to call out our carts. I'm going to say cart slash. So we're going to import carts now. So now what we want to do now, we're going to check if a cart exists. We're going to get the cart. But if it does not exist, we're going to create a cart. So this is how you do it now. We're going to say cart, created. So if a cart exists, we are going to draw this cart in. But if it does not exist, what we're going to do, we're going to create a new cart. It's going to say carts comma created is going to be equal to carts dot objects dot get underscore get or create on get underscore or underscore create. So after that, we're going to create a cart based from the now. From here, you can see this cart as an attribute of owner, So now I'm going to say the owner. So we're going to simply say owner is going to be equal to the logged in user, which is customer, and a completed status of false. So a cart has this completed status and is false for now because the user has not yet paid yet. So I'm going to say completed should be equal to false. Okay, I think everything is working fine. So we have been able to do this. As I said earlier, this helps to check if a cart exists. If it exists, it's going to create a cart. Instead, it's going to create a cart. It's going to get the existing cart. But if it does not exist, it's going to create a new cart for the logged in user. So now, after we've made this now, so now we're going to get the cart items. The items in this cart. So now, let me say cart item should be equal to. Let me say carts dot cart items. Because these cards we have here are some cart items. From what we have here, this cart is the parent element, the cart items is the child element. So we're trying to get the child elements of these cards, which is the cart items. So now let's continue. Let's say cart item is going to be cart.cart items, cart.cart items underscore sets dot all. Okay, so now that's for the logged in user. So that's it. Now I'm going to simply say else. If you're not logged in, you're going to see an empty cart. So I'm going to simply say cart is going to be equal to an empty list. Cart item is going to be equal to an empty list if you're not logged in. So I'm going to pass this carts and cart items into the context dictionary. Carts and the cart items. This is going to be called cart items. So that's it now. So now after we've done this now, we're going to make sure we render out this inside of the cart page, on the cart page. So here's our cart page now. So now we're going to run a for loop on this session. Understand? So I'm going to simply say for item in cart items. For item in cart items, I'm going to simply end the for loop. So now for the first colon in the cart, I'm referring to this particular colon we have here. Oh, this is not gonna okay, I get why this is for the other one. For this particular colon, we want to have the image of that item. So we're gonna simply do that here. I'm gonna simply say okay. It's gonna be item.products.image. Understand? Item.products.image.url. So for the title, for the name of the product, you're gonna simply have item.product.name. You cannot just say item.name, because if you check the Models.py file, the cart item does not have a name attribute. So we are getting the name attributes from the product. We are getting the name attributes from this product. Instead, we are linking to this particular product, which is here, that has the name attributes. So I also be understanding this. So after I've done that, to do the same thing, item and product.price. I think everything should work now. Everything should work now. So let's refresh the page. Oh, it isn't working. Everything is. Let's see if we are logged in. Oh, we're not logged in. I think that's a problem. Let's log in. Cleansing. Okay, log in. So if you're not logged in, you can't have a cart. You're gonna have empty pages for now. So now go down to this page again. You can see now we have these cart items. You can see we have the gray t-shirts, we have the blue t-shirts, this is what we have in the cart. We have the quantity. You can see we have quantity of 2 for the gray t-shirts. We have quantity of 3 for the blue t-shirts. Understand? So after we've done this now, I want to make sure that we're able to have, when you multiply 30 times 2, we want to make sure we have the total by the side. So let's do that right away. So we're going to go down to the Models.py file under the cart items. So now I'm going to try to get the subtotal. So I'm going to create a new property. It's going to be a function. So to create a new functional property, we're going to use the @property keyword, @property. So now we're going to create a new function. I'm going to call this function subtotal. I'm going to say def subtotal. Okay. So we're going to have the sub parameter. So now I'm going to simply say total is going to be equal to, I'm going to simply say self.quantity times self.products.price, self.products.price. So now we're going to simply return total. I'm going to simply return total. Okay, so that's done. So now we're going to simply go down to the cart.html page. Okay, I suppose return wrongly. Add T. So now what I'm going to do now, we're going to go down to the cart.html page and add this subtotal as a normal attribute because of this @property keyword. So we're now at the cart.html, cart.html. There is where we have that stuff. See here where we have the item.subtotal. As you can see, we have the item.subtotal already. Item.subtotal, which is coming from here. Understand? So that's it now. So once I just simply save now, go down to this page, refresh, you can see everything is working because everything is fine. When you multiply 2 times 30.99, we're going to have 61.98. So that's it now. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that whenever we add up this total, we want to have the grand total at the bottom. So let's start right away. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the Models.py file just the way we did again. I'm going to create another property, but them under the cart model. Understand? Under the cart model class. I'm going to simply say @property. I'm going to call this function, let's say def total. Let's say the grand total. So we put the self keyword. Okay, now so after we've done this now, we're going to simply say cart items should be equal to, so we want to get the cart items under this particular cart. So we want to get all the items. We're going to simply say cart items is going to be equal to self dot cart items underscore set dot all. Okay, so after we've done this now, we're going to simply put a new variable called total. So we're going to say total is going to be equal to, we're going to simply say sum. So now we're going to loop through the cart items. Now once you loop through the cart item, we're going to simply say for item in cart items. So after we've looped through it now, we want to get the item dot subtotal. Instead of looping through, we're looking through the cart items from what we have here, and the cart items is this particular model class. So after we've looked through it, we want to get the item dot subtotal and sum it up. So we're going to simply say item dot subtotal. Okay, so now we're going to simply return total. So after we've done this now, we're going to simply add carts dot grand total on the particular field. You see just here, you can see after I ran this for loop, I added an extra of this for the grand total field, which is what we have here, this particular last line. Understand? So now, so we're going to simply add, go down to cart.html, I'm going to simply add what I said, cart.grand total, grand total. So save your work to the page again, refresh. Oh, it's not working. I don't know what the problem is. I made a mistake. Grand total. So save. Okay, I think everything should be fine now. So just go down to the browser again, refresh. Say method object is not iteratable, so I don't know why this error. I want to write the error. Okay, so we're gonna simply say models.py set cut item gonna be set cut items underscore set dots all. So I say for item in cart item the subtotal. So do we need to add this? Let's see if you add into the parentheses. Okay, I need to add the parentheses. You can see now it's working because we have the cart total. We add up these two, we're going to have 124.95. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that this stuff we have here, this cart gets updated whenever. You can see we have 5 items in the cart, so I want to make sure this cart gets updated. So let's do that right away. So now just under here now, copy this, Ctrl C. I'm gonna say paste this now. I'm gonna call this carts quantity. Carts quantity. That's the name of the function. So after we've done this now, I'm gonna simply say cart item is gonna be equal to self dot cart items underscore set dot all. So we look through the cart items now. We're gonna simply say item dot quantity. So now that's it now. So save now. Save. Okay. That property should be a step backward. So just save your work. So we have. So I'm gonna simply have cat quantity. So go down to the cat.html page. Cat.html page. Okay, we have that cat icon on the base.html template. This is on the base.html template. So now we're going to simply update it now. Say cats quantity. I think that's what we called it. Cats quantity from where is it? From the models.py file. Cats quantity under the cats model. So now from the base.html, I think it should work. So refresh the page. Now as we have 5 items up here, 5 down here, I think everything is working fine. Everything is working. We have our grand total, we have the number of items on our cart. So after we've done all this, now to make sure that users can simply add to carts by themselves. So if you want to come down to the home page, you click add to carts, add to carts, add to carts, item gets added to the cart. For example, gets added to our cart. When you click on that add to carts button we have there. But I want to make sure that this stuff also shows on the home page. It only shows on the cart page, yes. So to do that is not difficult. Go down to your models.py file or else to your views.py file. Okay, what we have here, just simply copy this stuff. Okay, I'm also going to do something extra here. I'm going to simply say cart should be equal to, I called it carts quantity for users that are not logged in. Understand? So I'm going to simply copy all this, Ctrl C, and paste on this particular page on the store view. Understand? So that's it now. After I've done this now, I'm going to make sure I pass cart and cart items into the context dictionary. Let's say cart items. Okay, so that's it. We have an indentation error. Okay, I'm going to take this F a bit backward, the if. Okay, so now after we've added this stuff to the store view, so what else do we need to do? So now I simply have to just go down to, I don't know, I think everything should be fine now. So refresh the page. Perfect. You can see we have the 5 here. Everything is working fine. So what we want to do now is to make sure we can add to cart by ourselves from the home page. Instead, add to cart. So let's do that right away. So now let's proceed with this stuff now. Okay, so now what we need to do now is this. So once we make sure whenever we click add to cart, items get to the cart, added to the cart. So let's do that right away. So now we're going to use some JavaScript here. Understand? So before we do that now, I'm going to go down to this page, to this home page. There's my VS Code. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the store.html page. So now after that, I'm going to simply add a default attribute, some default attributes. So how am I going to do that? So I'm going to simply say data hyphen products. It's going to be equal to going to call this data hyphen product is going to be equal to, I'm going to simply say product ID. So I'm going to add the product ID, product underscore ID. So now after I've done that, I also want to add another attribute called action. I'm going to call this data action. It's going to be equal to action. Okay, so now I have the product ID down on this particular button. If I click on the button, I want to get the product ID and this action and send them to the back end. So now I'm going to add some JavaScript now. So down, I'm going to go to the static folder. I have this JS folder inside cart.js. So I'm going to clear what is in here. I'm going to clear it here. So now cart.js. So that's it now. So what I want to do now is I want to select all these buttons using JavaScript. These 3 buttons, pick up all the old buttons. So how do we do that now? So if you watch closely from the store.html, this button has a class called add to cart. So I'm going to pick them through this add to cart, through this class called add to cart. So let's do that in the JS file now. So I'm going to simply say let's btns, let btns equal to document.getElements by class name. So let's see what it's called again. Add to cart. To cart. So let's console.log this button to be sure our JS is connected to the HTML. Console.log btn. So I'm going to show you something. These are our JS files. So I want to show you that this is connected to our base.html. So at the bottom of the page, you can see where I linked the JavaScript file to the base.html. Understand? So now I've saved this already. So let's go down to the browser. Refresh this page, inspect elements, click on console, click on the console. You can see the buttons, you can see the 3 of them. Okay, now so we're going to add some event listener to this button. You understand? So let's start right now. I'm going to simply loop through this button. First of all, I'm going to simply say for let's I equal to 0, I is less than btns.length and I plus plus. So I'm trying to loop through the button and have access to each of them individually. So now I'm going to simply say btns square bracket I dot add event listener click. So whenever I click on this button, I want a function to get executed. Understand? Add event listener click. So this function gets executed whenever I click on a button. Understand? So this function is going to have the add the parameter. So now this is all I want to accomplish now. So now I want to get the product ID. So whenever I click on this particular button, let's close this. If I click on this button, I want to get the product, I want to get the ID of this product. Understand? If I click on this one, get the ID of this product. That's why I had to add the product ID to if I had to add this stuff here, this product ID here. Understand? To get the ID of this product. So how do I go on with this? Okay, I'm going to simply say let's products underscore ID equal to e.target. E.target means the item I am clicking on. This button, either what e.target means. E.target data set dot products. This product is coming from where? It's coming from this point. You can see this attribute is called products. To create a custom attribute in HTML, you need to append data hyphen and name of the attributes you want. Understand? So this attribute is called products. So that's it there. Okay, so go back to this. So now that's it now. So I also want to get the action attributes. I want to get the value of the action attributes. I'm going to say let action be equal to e dot target dot data set dot action. So that's all for now. Understand? So I think that's all for this. Okay, so let's console.log and see if this is working. If you console.log product ID, I hope it's gonna work. It's gonna work, trust me. Products underscore ID. So whenever I click on that button, so click on this. So let's check the console. If you can see, if I click on this one, see I'm getting the product ID. Click on this. These are UUID. You can see they are unique. They are unique, and you cannot guess it. Never. You can never guess it correctly. So that's it. Okay, so that's it done already. So after I've done this now, instead, so I'm going to check if the user is logged in. If the user is logged in, we're going to do something different. If the user is not logged in, we're going to do something different. Understand? So we're going to say if. So now in the base.html, there's this stuff I created here. This I'm going to remove the comment from this. Comments from this stuff. Okay, so that's it now. So this is the logged in user. Let's user equal to request.user. I'm going to explain this later. Understand this stuff later. So I said let user equal to the logged in user. So let's do some work. Okay, so now I want to simply say if user is equal to anonymous. Anonymous means we are not logged in. Anonymous user. This is for user that is not logged in. If user is equal to anonymous user, I'm going to simply say console.log you are not logged in, you are not signed in, you are not signed in. Okay, so else, we're going to say on the else statement, if the user is logged in, I'm going to simply run this function. I'm going to simply say add to cart. This is going to be a function, add to cart. I'm going to have this stuff. I'm going to have this product ID and action as its arguments. Understand? I'm going to simply say products underscore ID and action. Okay, so now this is a function. This is a function called add to carts. So now I'm going to create this function at the bottom of the page. The function is being called up here. We're going to create it at the bottom now. So now let's do that right away. So I'm going to simply say function function add to carts. So this function is going to have some parameters. So I'm going to call this p underscore id, and I'm going to call this acts. These are parameters, and the values of these parameters are simply what we have here. If you understand, so if you know JavaScript, the value of these parameters are what we have up here, which points to this stuff here, to these two product and action. So now what I want to do now, I want to send this ID to the back end using the fetch API. So I want to send the product ID and this action to the back end. So how do we do that now? So we are going to create a view. So let's do that right now. Let's create this view where we want this data to be sent to. So we're going to go down to the views.py file. I'm going to create a view. I'm going to simply call this view updates cards, depth updates cards. Okay, so now we're going to have a request. Now we're going to be returning a JSON response, not the template. I'm going to say from JSON, so from Django.http import JSON response. Okay, so we're going to scroll down a bit. Okay, now so we're going to simply return JSON response, and we're going to simply return a response. We're going to return a response. Let's say if everything goes well, we're going to have this message printed, it's working. If everything works without an error, we're going to simply say it's working. I'm going to also add safe equal to false. Okay, I tried looking up the fetch API. Okay, it's open here. Let's open this. Oh, I'm having some internet connection issues. So now what I'm trying to do is this. I want to try to send data from our JavaScript to this particular view. Understand? That's what I want to do. So I'm going to create a URL for this particular view, just a simple URL for this particular view. So now just simply call this view. So we say parts. I'm going to simply say updates cards. So I'm going to simply say views dot update cards. So this is the URL for these views. So now time for us to send data to this particular view. So I'm going to use the fetch API, which I just looked up here. So I'm going to use particular parts of the fetch API. So I think we're going to use this one. So I'm going to simply copy this, go down to the browser again, go down to the page, so our JavaScript. Okay, just inside here we're going to pay the fetch API. Okay, that's it now. So I'm going to just add some space between. Okay, so this is it now. I think everything should be fine. Okay, so now we're going to simply create a URL we want to send this data to. We want to send this data to this particular URL of these cards. Understand? So now let's create this. So I'm going to simply say let URL be equal to updates. It's going to be updates cards. The same thing with what you have here. What you have here, where is it again? The UI is by file, the same thing. Understand? So after we've done that now, okay, so now we're going to remove this URL and put our normal URL there. So now you can see with this data I just want to send to the back end, this particular data, but it's not exactly the same thing what we have here. So now what I'm going to do is this now. So I'm going to simply say, I'm going to simply change this to our product ID. Product ID should be equal to this PID. You know, the PID points to the actual product ID up here. So what I want to do, PID P underscore ID. So I'm going to put a comma, and this action action, which is the our action. Now I can see from the store.html the action attributes as, let's change this, as a value of add, not action, as a value of add. You see what this does later in the future, as a value of add. So now I'm going to simply do the same thing. I'm going to simply say action should be equal to ACT, and this ACT points to the actual action we have on a page. Understand? So that's it for now. So this is what we are trying to pass on to the back end. So now we are going to use a post request, so that you can see our data is being stringified over here. This data is being converted to a string at this point. So it's being, after that, now we are going to send it to the back end. So after it being converted to a string, we turn it back to a JSON response, and this is where we have the actual data. So if everything works fine, we are going to have this printed. It is working. So now let's see. So if I simply, let's save all our pages, save the views.py file, save, go down to the card.js file, save it. So now let's go down to the browser again, and let's simply add to cart, refresh this page. Oh, there is no error. Okay, perfect, no error. So now click on add to cart. So for that, let's open our console. So click on add to cart. Oh, there's an error. I can't tell. It said not found. This URL is not found. Oh, there's a mistake. It should not be a string, it should be a variable. So that's the problem. I hope that should be the problem. Refresh, click on add to cart. Oh, another error. If there, you know why there's, if there is no error, we're going to have that is working fine printed at the bottom. Okay, said, oh, we have a forbidden error. That's because if you check here, we have the error here, forbidden. The same thing we have here. That's because, you know, when you're trying to send it out to the back end using Django forms, you're going to add a CSRF token, but this place we can't add them. So there's a way we can add them in this particular instance. We are going to use the Django Ajax CSRF token. So I'm going to simply look up Django Ajax CSRF token. So let's go, so simply browse this now, and we'll see how to solve this problem. Okay, you're going to simply look up Django Ajax CSRF token. The first link, click on it to bring down to this page. You understand? So let's scroll down a bit. This is what we need to just copy this stuff. So I copied it and I added it to my base.html. I'll show you where it is. If you check my base.html, you can see this code. That's what I'm talking about. I copied it and added it here. After you've added it, you're not done yet. So you're going to also just add this little stuff at the bottom. Okay, where is it again? You can see these headers. We have these headers in the fetch API. So I'm going to show you where it is now. These headers we have it in the fetch API, cart.js. You can see we have the headers section just here. So you can see. So now I'm going to simply just copy this, what is inside of the headers, copy it out. After you copy that out, you're going to simply paste that inside the headers, also at the bottom, paste. So that's what you need to do. So just save your work now, go back to the page again, and let's add to carts. So what's this? So add to carts, click on add to carts. Nothing is working. Refresh the page, add to carts. You can see it says it's working. Add to carts, it's working. So everything is working. I'm able to send data successfully to the back end. We've sent data successfully to the back end. So data has been sent to this view. That's good. So now data has been sent here. After data has been sent here, now we're going to get those data right away. We're going to simply say data should be equal to, how was I say, going to be JSON dot loads we say requests dot body. So we're going to import JSON. Import JSON. Okay, JSON imported. That's nice. So now we've gotten it. So now we're going to simply get the product ID. You can see we sent some data. Look at the data we sent here. We're going to get we sent some data. We sent the product ID and the action attributes. We sent some data to this place. Okay, so now I want to get the product ID. So now let's do that right away. I'm going to simply say product ID is going to be equal to data square brackets. Data refers to this stuff here. Product ID, we're going to point to this, to the key name, product ID. So we're going to simply say products underscore ID. So now we're going to get the action. It's going to be data square brackets. What's the key name again? Action. Okay, so now after we've gotten this, now we're going to get the product by this ID. Now we're going to simply say products should be equal to products dot objects dot get product ID equal to this product ID, which is C. So that's it. So I'm gonna also get the action. I'm gonna say, okay, we've gotten the action already. So now what we want to do now is we're gonna get a cart. Now we're gonna get the cart items. But before we do that, we need to check. Let's simply say if request.user, I want to check if the user is logged in. If request.user is authenticated, you know, whenever we want to get a cart, we must make sure that we are working with a logged in user. Understand? If request.user is authenticated, I'm going to say customer should be equal to request.user. So now I'm going to create a cart. I'm going to say carts comma created should be equal to carts dot objects dot get underscore or underscore create. I'm going to get the cart by the owner, which is the logged in user, which is customer. And we're going to get the completed is equal to false for now. Since you've not paid, it's going to be equal to false. I'm also going to do the same thing for the cart items. We're going to also create a cart items. Now I'm going to paste this here. Say cart items. I'm going to make sure that cart items is imported. So now we have cart items created. I'm going to say cart items dot objects dot get or create. I'm going to point it down to the owner. It's going to point down to the product rather. Product is going to be equal to the product we have up here. And we're going to also put this. We're going to also use the carts. If we check the models.py file, these cart items as this product and carts attributes. That's why we're using it. And carts going to be equal to these carts we have up here. Okay, so I think it's working. Okay, so now that's it for now. Okay, after that, now we want to check. So whenever you click on this, we know we have an attribute of action on it, right? So What I want to do now is I'm going to simply say if action is equal to add. If action is equal to add, I'm going to simply increase the cart items quantity. Cart items plus quantity is going to be equal to, going to be plus equal to 1. I'm going to increase it by 1. As far as keep clicking on that action, as you keep clicking on this article, this keep getting updated. The cart items keep getting updated. So that's it now. So we're going to simply say cart items.save. Okay, so I think this is all we need to do. That's all we need to do. So now if we check the page now, we check the carts page. You can see we have what's it called again? We have 2 gray t-shirts and 3 blue t-shirts. So go back to the home page. I'm going to add the orange shirts. I've added it. Go back to this page now. Oh, it didn't show that I added it. Oh, there's no problem. Oh, there's an error, that's why. So we need to correct this error. It says request is not defined. I spelled requests wrongly at the past. Okay, it should be requests. So save your work now. Go to the page again. Shop it. So if I click on add to cart for this particular product, click back here, you can see now we have the orange shirts. Understand? We have the orange shirts, but I expect the quantity to get increased, but it didn't. I don't know what the problem is. Cart items of quantity plus equal. So now let's try go back to the home page again and add this to cart once more. Let's see. Oh, the quantity are not getting increased. So let's see what the problem is. So I said if action is equal to add, cart items of quantity should be plus equal to 1. Okay, I think I found the error. It says cart items is not defined. So let's see where it is not being defined. Set cart items created. So if action is equal to add, it says cart items is not defined. Okay, you can see I spelled cart items wrongly there. That's the problem. So just save that again. Save. So I spelled cart items wrongly. That's why. So refresh. Go back again to the home page. So click add 2 more, should be 5 now, the quantity. Add 2 more, should be 2 now, the quantity. So let's see, you can see now we have 5, we have 2. I think it's working fine now. It's working fine. But okay, everything is working fine. What I want to do is this. As we add items, I want to make sure that this stuff gets updated. Instead, if you check, okay, I think everything is working fine on this page. Everything is working fine. So let's see. Go back to the home page. Let's add one more. Let's add 2 of these. Go back here. Okay, I think everything is working fine. But you can see if I go back to the home page now, you can see if I click add to cart, the cart does not update. If I click add to cart, it does not update. But if I refresh the page, it says it has updated. So I want to use Ajax to make this update without refreshing the page. So that's the next thing we need to work on currently. Okay, now so let's make sure we get the cards updated without refreshing the page. Understand? So we're going to do this right away. So I'm going to simply create a new variable, a dictionary. Just going to call this, let's call it MSG. You can call it something you like. So now I'm going to simply call this, give it the key of quantity. So I want to get the cards quantity from the back end. And if you check from my Models.py file, I was able to get the quantity of the cards from the cards model class. You say cards.quantity, card.quantity is going to give you the quantity of that cards. So let's do that now. So I'm going to simply come down to the views.py file and say cards dot cart quantity. So that's what I need to do. After I've done this, and I'm going to pass in this MSG to this part. I'm going to remove this it's working and put the MSG there. Ctrl Z. MSG. Okay, that's done. After I've added it there, so now I'm going to go down to the cart.js. I'm going to go down to the cart.js file. So after I've done added it there, so now cart.js file. So now I'm going to simply do this. I'm kind of thinking. So now I'm simply going to do this. Oh, let's check this quick. Okay, I'm going to simply do this right away. So now I'm going to go back to my base.html and see and pick up this cart objects. Here's the cart objects. We check what I give it an ID of carts. Understand? Give it an ID of cart. So now this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go down to this cart.js file. So I'm gonna pick up that object now. So I'm gonna simply come down here and say documents.get elements by ID. I called it document.get element by ID carts. So I've gotten that carts object. I've gotten it. So I'm going to simply say .inner HTML. That means the content of the carts. I want to update it to something different. So now I'm going to simply come down against this .html. I'm going to copy this stuff. Ctrl C. Ctrl C. Okay, so go down against the cart.js. So I'm going to use this back tip, paste it inside there, and put the $, just a single one. Okay, so now you can see now I've gotten the cards now, so I want to update the inner HTML now. So I'm going to simply say data refers to this MSG I kept here. Understand? That's what data refers to. So now simply say data dot cat quantity. If you check here, we have the cat. So I'm going to simply say data dot quantity. Understand? This is quantity. So now I'm going to go back here and change this to quantity. So I think everything should work now. Put the Q. So now everything should be fine. So refresh this page. We have 13. Now if I add, we have 13 items in our cart. So if I add more, add to carts, you can see it's now 14. The page does not refresh. Add more, it's now 15. Everything is working fine now. So I'm gonna stop here for the part 1. So in the part 2, I'm gonna show you guys how to simply how we can simply update. If you update the quantity, it's gonna multiply the price, and you're gonna get your total by the left, by the right hand side. And if you do those things, your total price gets updated, your carts gets updated, everything works without the page refresh. They're gonna be in a part. So hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel for more Django tutorials and tips and tricks. So thank you for watching. We'll meet in the next video. Bye bye.